Yo, what's up? It's Coach Renz. I know last week we were supposed to have our session on Thursday, but I was in San Antonio celebrating with my son, so we missed the last Thursday conversation where I promised we was going to talk about the Demiurge. So guess what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the Demiurge. I did a short video about the Demiurge some months and months ago. So today we're going to have an extended, deep cut conversation concerning the Demiurge. I want to give a few people a little bit of time to get on here. I switched up where my cameras are. So hopefully the Facebook people on my Facebook page, it won't freeze up. Yo, if you'd like to continue to support this channel, I would love for everybody to go over to either my Facebook page, which is Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz, or my YouTube page. I prefer the YouTube page. On Facebook, you can give stars, which is a great supporter of the channel. On YouTube, you can become a member. You can become a member. You can also, Grand Rising Debbie, how you doing? You can become a member on YouTube. You can give a super thanks donation. I appreciate all those things, or just a straight up donation on YouTube. But the views on YouTube actually help benefit the channel, so that within the next 2 years, this will be my primary mode of things that I do, that we can spend a lot more time together talking about the Demiurge. Debbie, I want you to let me know on Facebook if it's not freezing, if it's freezing or not, because that, and I'm gonna put on here where if you want to send stars, see if that worked. I don't even know what I just did, but anyway, let me know, Debbie, if it's freezing on Facebook. But we're gonna get started here in just a second, because I want this, I want to be able to see you guys' comments on the Demiurge. But first, I want to spend a little bit of time giving you breaking down what this Demiurge is, where it comes from, the thought process behind it, the history of it, the history of the Demiurge. Now, though, although we can find, first let me give you the base understanding. The Demiurge is a lesser deity from the creative energy called the plemora that created Earth, the matter plane of existence, matter Earth, the universe, our known matter universe. And then because it was warped, it wasn't a good god, so to speak. It created a negative world, and this is why you see there, and this is why you see there's a difference between the Old Testament God and the New Testament God. But I'm jumping ahead right there. But this Earth is not created by the Creator, so to speak. That is the concept. That's the first basic concept of the Demiurge. That it is a lesser God that created this and has trapped our souls in this matter plane of existence. Now, there are some portions of the Demiurge philosophy that I agree with. There's some parts that I do not agree with. We will go over all of them. We will go over it anyway. But first, let's give some foundation, some background on what and who this Demiurge is. So in other religions, other philosophies, there is, what's up, Papa? How you doing? How you doing, Clarissa, Alfonso? Let me know who you are. Walking Tall just want to start out. Ain't heard a word. Already starting out. You're wrong. Don't even know what I'm about to say, but you're wrong. It's all right. So, but we're not going to focus on that kind of thing. We're going to focus on what we're actually talking about today, the Demiurge. All right. I'm glad you got a sense of humor, Walking Tall. I like that. I could probably talk to you. We could probably have friends. We can probably have conversations. So anyway, so the Demiurge concept is not something that originated from Christianity in the early, first, second, third, fourth centuries of Christianity. It's actually something that is of an older nature, but then was applied to Christianity in the first, second, and third century. The idea of, and most of that comes from a group that we call Gnostics. Now, Gnostics is not one unified group. The Marcions were considered Gnostics. The Valentinians were considered Gnostic. There are multiple groups, but the primary group that was considered Gnostics was the Sethians. Sethians deriving from Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel, but then after all that mess happened, Adam and Eve then had Seth. Seth, who was the first to call upon the name of God according to the Old Testament, was the one who understood that through knowledge you gain your salvation, so to speak. We're going to use the term salvation, but through knowledge you gain your salvation, but that's not the word that I really like. You gain your self-actualization, your self-determination through knowledge. That's what the Sethians, who are primarily the Gnostics, to which wrote most of the literature that we found mainly at the Nag Hammadi library, as well as what the other early church fathers who wrote about these people as them being heretics. Initially, it was all just the heretical information that some of the early church fathers wrote, that we had our ideas. All right, from Louisiana. How you doing, Regina? Yeah, let me know where y'all from. I always find that interesting. Okay? So, man, I like how people don't even hear what I gotta say. Anyway, so you got the Sethians. Now, prior to that, you had, especially throughout Egypt, throughout Kemet, you had the teachings of the Hermetics. You had the Emerald Tablets teachings. You had the teachings of Lemuria, the teachings of Mu, that were higher self-actualization teachings that did not require a church. It did not require an outside person to come and give you salvation. It didn't require a pastor or priest or anything of that sort. Debbie's in Texas. Got Jeremy in Pennsylvania. It didn't require all those things. All it required was your knowledge. You gaining more and more knowledge. And some of this was considered secret knowledge. Like, it wasn't just poured out on all the people. Papa's in DC. You had to grow. Tony's in Chicago. You had to grow to become like the adept. You know, it was like the apprentice, the adept, and then the masters. You had to ascend in your own knowledge and grow. The Kabbalah does a similar thing. Like, you can't become Kabbalistic until you reach a certain level of understanding in Judaism before you can go into the mystic side of Judaism. So the Hermetics had a similar functional thing when it came to understanding the Hermetic laws and then applying those Hermetic laws, and then with that growing up into your self-actualization. I'm going to explain that even deeper, that little process, where that process is kind of crystallized in the Gnostic teachings of the Sethians, which is where we get this idea of the Demiurge. And like I said, I'm giving you the history of it a little bit and some foundation so that we can actually talk about it with something to stand on. Now, so you find elements of this in Taoism and Buddhism. You'll find it in Shinto. You'll find it in almost every ancient religion, that the Sumerians, everything that predates Christianity, you will find, almost everything that predates Christianity, you find this very similar, very same understanding of, through gnosis, knowledge, and it's knowledge of self, knowledge of nature, knowledge of the universe around you, the higher planes of knowledge. Somebody said, as above, so below, quoting the axiom from the law of correspondence, which is, in the law of correspondence, you have the different planes of existence. I did a video a couple days ago where I talked about, if you know, a guy called me a man of the world, and so I cannot have spiritual knowledge because I only have world knowledge. But I explained that if you do not understand in the law of correspondence the knowledge of the plant and animal existence, the human existence, then you can't understand the spiritual existence. It is the combination of understanding all planes of existence, right? The balance of that, which allows for you to truly ascend and become the adept and the master, to know the spirit realm. So this is the thought process of the Gnostic people, those who we would call Gnostics, especially the Scythians, that was applied to Christianity. So in that application, you get this Demiurge. So what is the Demiurge, and how do we go there? They got the Demiurge first by just reading the Old Testament and comparing that to what they believe were the teachings of Jesus. Because when you compare the two deities to which the Old Testament is talking about and what Jesus is talking about, you get two different deities. You get one that is jealous and angry in the Old Testament, the one that orders genocides and things that are of a lower moral standard than what most people have today. You get that type of deity, whereas the Yeshua, the Jesus type of deity, is one that speaks of love and compassion and forgiveness, right? So you have this difference, and in reading and understand, seeing that difference, the Demiurge became the philosophy, and that philosophy is supported by hermeticism, by the understanding of the all. If you've ever read the book The Kabbalion, I would implore you to read within the chapter concerning the law of mentalism. There is the all is all, right? It's this one pastor friend of mine. I used to love when he used to always say, all means all, and that's all that all means. All means all, and that's all that all means. That it is everything. So within that system, how do we get to a demiurge? So first, what you have is what the Gnostics call the plemora, plemora, right? So the plemora is the all. The plemora is limitless. If you ever go look up the description of the all in the Secret Writings of John. The Secret Writings of John is one of those books that were found in the Nag Hammadi library. It gives a beautiful description of the all in the Secret Writings of John. You know what? Let me see if I can find that real quick. And it's called the Secret Gospel of John, actually. Sometimes it's also called the Apocrypha of John, the Apocryphon of John. I don't know if I can find one real quick that goes directly to what I was looking for. I guess the quality of the question. I always tell people when you're doing research, when you're looking up something, if you're going to use Google, the quality of the question, and this happens in life period, the quality of the question dictates the quality of the answer that you're going to receive. I don't see it real quick, so I'm not going to take a whole bunch of time looking for it. Let me change one word in my question and see if that renders something different. So I found a quick little spurge of it, but it's not the whole thing. But it says that he is supreme, absolute, eternal, infinite, perfect, holy, and self-sufficient. However, his transcendent ineffability is also emphasized. Oh, this is just talking about. This ain't the actual one. It would have been great to have the actual one, but it just popped in my head to use that right now. So just go read the secret book of John. That's the Apocryphon of John. And there is a great description of what the all is, but the all is limitless. The all, there is nothing up. The all is limitless because there's nothing ahead of the all. There's nothing outside of the all. So it's limitless. The all is self-actualized, self-contained. The all is outside of itself, and so the all is all that it is, and it can never be anything lower. So it can't be inside of itself, because everything inside of itself can never view the all and understand the entirety of the all. And we are all manifestations inside of the all. Like we are, and that manifestation comes in the form of thoughts. But according to the Gnostic, that thought was not just the one thought of the all to manifest man. That is how the Old Testament and many other creation stories would have you to think that the all manifested us. But this all did not manifest us. This all manifests through thought. And the first thought that the all, the infinite, had was forethought. That forethought is called the shit. Just fell out my head what that is called. It's called it starts with a B. But that forethought is the first thought from the plemora. Let me see if I can find that right quick. You know, this is why you get here a little bit early and get you some notes written down. To have all them words that you're not used to saying all the time already situated, right? So that first one is the thought. The first thought of the all is forethought. That forethought meaning something you think about beforehand, something you plan, you consider its future, you know. So when you, like, before you plan to do something, you should sit down and think about it. If you use the biblical term of, you know, measure twice and cut once, but that's what it would be. Now, from that plemora, that forethought, and it's going to come to my mind later on, and whenever it comes to my mind, I'll just have it. That forethought with the all then created what people call the Christ. Okay, they call that what they will call the Christ. The Christ is not a being. The Christ is self-actualization, self-manifestation. That's what the Christ is. Self-knowing, self-fulfillment. That's what the Christ is. That's why Gnostics would say the Christ mind. That's why today people like to utilize the term the Christ mind instead of just using the term Christ as a being, or just saying Christ, because if you just say Christ, then you're moving that into the same region. You're making that the same thing. So it's more of a Christ consciousness, right? Thank you, Dark Worker. There's a Christ consciousness. Now, so you have pretty much a Trinity in place. You have the all, which you could call the Father. You have the forethought of the Father, which is female. The mother starts with a B, and it's still not clicking in my head. And then from that, you have the Son, which would be the Christ mind, right? So that would give you your Trinity. So now from that, what you had was from those three was the thought, the all thought of wisdom. These are called eons, and all these thoughts at this point are called eons, as far as the Gnostics are concerned. It's not a measurement of time, but each one is called an eon. Each thought is an eon. Wisdom being one of the first thoughts created, the first thoughts after the first two, the first sub thought. Wisdom decided that it wanted to create without the permission or without the agreement or without utilizing the all, without utilizing forethought, and without utilizing self-actualization, the Christ consciousness. And when wisdom created, it created what we call the Demiurge. The Yaldabaoth is the term that the Gnostics use, the Yaldabaoth. And that Yaldabaoth was disfigured. You'll see it symbolized with a lion head and a snake body. So anytime you see an ancient symbol and it has a lion head with a snake body, that's the Yaldabaoth, which as someone said earlier, becomes Yahweh, becomes Enlil, which becomes Yahweh, which can be attributed to all the creators that wanted to see our spirit remain dumb. Now, that demiurge went off on its own with only a small idea of what the plemora is, and tried to create as well with, and this is why I said when, in the Bible, when it talks about with the Sophia God created. Many people don't realize that, but if you go and look up the ancient Hebrew, Aramaic, it says with the Sophia God created. So with this Sophia, the demiurge created the matter plane of existence. All right? And in that creation of the matter plane of existence, because it was already a disfigurement, it was already an incorrect creation. You know what? Bermuda. Oh, shit. Yes, the word that I'm thinking about sounds like Bermuda, but it doesn't have the muta in it. Because every time I used to say it, I used to say Bermuda instead of saying the actual word. Oh, yeah, you're helping me out though a little bit there, Glenda. But so when we get that, the Gospel of Thomas is a great book, and it's the Gospel of Thomas doesn't break it down like that, but the Apocryphon of John does. The Gospel of Thomas is more giving you that wisdom to help you escape this creation of the demiurge, Yaldabaoth. So when the demiurge created all of this, the thoughts of us, our soul, our spirit, whichever term you want to use, your ka, was trapped in these human body forms in the matter plane of existence. Now, when they were first brought, this is you get your 6th day of creation on the 6th day. He created man and woman, told them to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Later in chapter 2, when it says that, and God breathed the breath of life into man, was actually, according to the Gnostics, a trick by the all to the demiurge to imbue man with a soul, and kind of like a DNA chain, where the soul, how your DNA, you have the DNA of your parents, but you also have the DNA of your grandparents, and you have the DNA of your great grandparents. So by blowing the soul into man, a portion of the demiurge, blowing that into man, which is why we have a dual personality, according to the Gnostics. We also get that spirit of wisdom. We get the soul of wisdom, and we get the soul of the Christ mind. We get the energy, and I'm going to say energy. We get the energy of the Christ mind. We get the energy of the forethought, and then the energy of the all. So we gain our connection to the all because the demiurge blew into man, and since the demiurge has that chain link, we all have that as well. Now, this demiurge wanted to keep us dumb, right? And the all wanted to open up pathways and gateways to allow us to not remain that way. So in your Garden of Eden story, the serpent is not the devil, but the serpent is an agent sent by the all in order for us to gain knowledge of good and evil, to grow beyond walking dummies. Right? So everybody doesn't have that, do they? Everybody doesn't have what? I'm looking at, I got 3 different screens, so I might miss some of the things that you may say. I apologize for that if I do. So if I come back and ask you, that's why I'm asking. But so even though, like, we'll apply the serpent to Enki because Enki wanted man to understand who he was, to grow in his spirit, grow in his soul, to elevate his consciousness. You have the same thing in most other religions where there's the one entity, that the Prometheus, who brings fire to man, and as far as the Greeks are concerned. So it's things of that nature. The old guy who comes across on a boat to the Aztecs and the Mayans, the feathered serpent, who's bringing this knowledge to man. we have that story in most cultures, most religions, of somebody bringing that energy, bringing that consciousness, that kundalini. Thank you, Shar. That kundalini to man. So this is what we have in the serpent, and of course, the demiurge doesn't like that. This is what you have when you have entities such as in Hindu. Hindu has one God. People think that it's polytheistic, but it's not. You have one God. You have Brahma. From Brahma, you have the trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and it's Brahma, Vishnu. It's not Kali. It's not. It's not Krishna. I don't think. It might be. It might be Krishna, but you have the trinity within the Hindu, which gives you that same thing of the all, the forethought, and the Christ mind, or the Buddha mind, the Hindu mind. The Krishna mind. But then Krishna is in his 13th reiteration right now, according to Hindus. So with Krishna is supposed to be the one that's bringing you the knowledge to return to the all, giving you the self-actualization so that you can have that forethought, and you continue to grow in your wisdom of knowing who you are. And it's knowing who you are, and I really want to dig deep into the self-actualization in a little bit, because that is so vital to your personal spiritual growth, your pathway of spiritual growth. It's more vital than most people realize. But it is without outside interference. It is without other people's thought process and telling you what you are, who you are, things of that nature. But it is you recognizing who you are on your own. I'm going to try something that's probably not going to work. USA. And I shouldn't be clicking on this, because not remembering this word is driving me insane. Just for my own edification, I need to know this word. Nope, and I can't not find it. All right, so anyway. So this manifestation, this creation, this demiurge creation, this demiurge has demonstrated itself to be a less than God, because when you recognize, it says things that is countered in and easily explained in the Apocrypha of John, when the demiurge said, "I am a jealous God," right, and worship no other gods other than me. Thank you, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. It's Shiva. Shiva is the triune. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And then you have Krishna comes later. But Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Thank you very much, Teresa. See, I like y'all. Y'all be on it. When I forget something or can't quite pull something out, y'all go look it up for me. I appreciate that. I truly do. So then, when we look at the gospel, the Apocrypha of John says that if there would actually be no reason for this God to be jealous if there were truly no other gods. If this God believed that there was no other gods, then there would be no point of it being jealous. But in order for it to be jealous, then it is recognizing that there are other gods, other deities, that people would give their love to, give their worship to, give their affinity to. So the mere fact that there is jealousy within this God demonstrate that it is trying to keep something all to itself and not share it with some other entity outside of itself. But as we know and recognize the all, there is nothing outside of the all, so therefore the all would never be jealous. The all would never tell you that you have to worship him and him alone, or it and it alone, because there is no other deity above it or outside of it, but yet just it's different thought processes that have manifested into power below it. So the the idea of the forethought, whatever that word is is a representation of the of power as well. So it's forethought and power, and then it marries up and creates the ability, the Christ mind of self actualization. Then you got wisdom, the Sophia, and then you get this demiurge. But Apocrypha of John says that you wouldn't have this jealousy if there was no higher deity. There would be no jealousy. There would be no need of jealousy. Uh, Appreciate that, E. So that's what this Gnostic thought process was. And their belief is that, and I agree with a lot of it, well, some of it, because it coincides with the view of hermeticism, and because it's standing on that foundation, especially since most of these Gnostics were in the Levant and in Kemet, which is where your hermetic teachings were originally taught. They weren't called hermetics. This is the Hellenistic name of it, based on Hermes Trismegistus. But these were the teachings of what the Greeks called Thoth, and they married Thoth and Hermes together, as they often did in the Greek culture. But this is a hermetic teaching. This is from the Emerald Tablets, from Thoth, who claimed to be from Atlantis. Right? Tahuti would be the hermetic name, the Kemetic name for it. So this is from Tahuti. But in those teachings of Tahuti on the Emerald Tablets, you have the 7 hermetic principles that this idea is based on. The law of mentalism. So when you have the all, you have the forethought. It almost got it. It was like at the tip of my brain. And then you have the Christ mind, the self-actualization. It is only through understanding these 7 laws, and I ain't gonna say only. It is a process, and one of those processes is through these 7 laws. But no matter what your process is, you are going to be involving yourself in these 7 laws by one form or fashion to elevate your consciousness so that Barbelo, thank you. You know what, Teresa, you on it today. Thank you. You see why Bermuda, Barbelo? Thank you, Teresa. So many haters there. Whew. Teresa, you just freed my mind to be able to speak on this without, I can think about something and be speaking at the same time and have a clear understanding of both at the same time. Thank you, Teresa. The Barbelo. So the second power creation, fourth thought creation of the all, the first thought of the all was the Barbelo, which is the forethought. This is why in the secret writing, in the Gospel of John, he says, not in the secret writing, in the Gospel of Judas, which was not part of the Nag Hammadi library, which was found later, but still in the same area. But in the Gospel of Judas, when Yeshua was asking, "Who do you think I am?" Judas said, "You are from the Barbelo." Thank you. Let me look at it one more time. Barbelo. Tell me who Abraxas is. I know we're talking about Sophia because the Demiurge manifested the Demiurge, according to the Sethians and most other Gnostics. But yes, we are talking about the Demiurge. But the Abraxas name is familiar but unfamiliar to me. So give me a little bit on Abraxas. Because maybe I just need a jog of memory, kind of like what girl Teresa just did with the Barbelo. What's funny is that earlier today I was like, okay, 2 words that I'm going to have trouble with today. Barbelo and Yildabaoth. Barbelo and Yildabaoth. Barbelo and Yildabaoth. Because the Demiurge is also called the Yildabaoth. So I kept on like Yildabaoth, because I don't really use that term. I don't use those 2 names that often. So, it wasn't fresh it was not easy in my brain. So I was going over and over and over. Got here, start opening this thing up so that once I open, everything will be easy. I wouldn't have to worry about stuff, and I completely forgot it. Thank you. So, Judas says that Yeshua comes from the Barbelo, because the all wasn't sending Yeshua to be whenever. Okay, when I get a chance, I cover that one. Bizzle. Yeshua is not like a living being that is created, manifested on earth. It didn't come to be the savior of people through its dying on the cross. Actually, that was repugnant to the Gnostic people. The taking of the bread and the wine, which is a Kemetic teaching, actually is something that the Assyrians used to do. Those who worship Osiris, or Asar. That was something that it was even before the teachings of Jesus, of taking bread and wine, and bread meaning the body, because the body of Osiris was bread and his blood was intoxicating of bread and wine. So it was like, and so the Kemetics practiced the Eucharist long before Christians did. They found that repugnant because they didn't look at Yeshua as your way of salvation, but that Yeshua's teachings were really about you elevating your consciousness, which is why the Judas said that you're from the Barbelo, because the I'm saying it right. Barbelo manifested the Christ mind with the all. So you have all the energy, the soul, the spirit, the power of the all inside the Barbelo, and with that forethought, the Barbelo created the Christ mind. Right? So Jesus, according to the Gnostics, was an entity that came to teach that, to elevate our consciousness so that we can make our return and escape this matter plane of existence. Yes, it's escape from New York. It's escape from Alcatraz, whichever movie you want to refer to, because y'all know I like some movies. But that's what was the escape plan. You had other sages around the world that taught similar messages, and the higher adepts always taught something different beyond that. The complete understanding of Taoism is Lao Tzu saying that once you are in the way, once you're in the flow of the way, you no longer need Buddhism. So some people don't realize that Taoism comes out of Buddhism. Buddhism comes out of Hinduism. Buddhism was, okay, once you've reached a certain point in Hinduism, you then elevate your consciousness into Buddhism. Once you master the Eightfold Path and get into the understanding of the way beyond the Eightfold Path, Lao Tzu introduced you to Taoism, the way. So it's a constant stair step for you to gain higher levels of consciousness of self-actualization. If you think about it, most of us, most people, period, are mental constructs of whatever your environment that you grew up in, whatever experiences you had. You were shaped by outside forces, and those outside forces, how you related to them, how you responded to them, how you reacted to them, dictated who you are to this day. Not many of us have set back and went through a process of self-actualization to think, have the Barbelo, I'm gonna use the hell out of that word today, have the Barbelo to conceptualize what every experience you have, every thought that you have, what has it meant to you, and what does it mean to your future, and what will your personal choice be as far as who you are, so that you can have the Christ mind. The Buddha mind would actually be considered the Barbelo. Like when you look at how some of the spiritual mystical people look at it today, the Buddha mind is higher than the Christ mind, right? So there would be the Barbelo. The Tao mind would be the all, the mind of the all, having the mind of all, because you are just in the flow of the all. So this is why my path went from I read and studied many different religions, but as far as my growth, right, I went from Christianity, even though I didn't agree with everything, I took some of the elements with me, into Buddhism, didn't agree with everything, but took some of the elements with me, became I started having a higher conscious idea of myself, went into Buddhism, got another higher level consciousness of myself, went into the Tao, and even more of a higher level consciousness of myself, and moving more into the flow of the way. Doing all of this, I came to points, and people around me will hear me say it simply, that every 10 years I reinvent myself. Every 10 years I look back at all my experiences, how I've responded and reacted to all of them, and from all of that, deeply contemplate and meditate on what they really mean, especially considering the hermetics, and who I am, who I truly am as a divine spiritual being. And then I move forward, growing myself higher and higher into the consciousness of the way. Now, I will never be the all. You can never be the all. You will never have the full conceptualization of the all. Anything inside of the all cannot actually see the face of the all, know the all in its entirety. If you were able to do that, then you would be the all. But the character can never be greater than the author. That can never happen. Even in your own thoughts, if you think about it right now, you can imagine a multitude of beings in your mind. But none of those beings can dictate anything about themselves beyond you. You can give them the freedom to grow. If we truly understood it, you could give them the freedom to grow in your mind and dictate to themselves who they are inside your mind, but they can never come and be outside of your mind. They can never look at you face to face. And this is why no being on earth has ever, in the Apocrypha of John, talks about how no being has ever seen the all. So all the stories of Abraham and seeing the all, seeing God, Jacob seeing God, wrestling with God, all this stuff. No, they saw the Demiurge. He wrestled with the Demiurge, would be the understanding of this, of the Demiurge and of Gnosticism, of alchemy. It'd be the understanding of alchemy. It'd be the understanding of hermeticism. Alchemy is not literally finding base lead and turning it into gold, but it is turning base thoughts into spiritual thoughts, higher consciousness, the thoughts of the all, to be more in flow with the all. And we can initiate that first by just looking at nature and understanding how nature functions. Humans are overly emotionalized, in the same sense that the Demiurge has all these emotions of jealousy and anger and frustration and all of these sorts of things. So because we have that dual personality, that duality of the all and the Demiurge, we have those emotions, but it is through mastering those emotions first. Well, mastering those emotions that helps you to elevate your consciousness into a higher plane, right? To not jump, snap, angry, but not to get rid of anger, but to manage anger. Not to get rid of love, but to manage love. Not to get rid of greed, but to manage greed. Not to get rid of selfishness, but to manage selfishness. And I know you're like, how do you manage selfishness? Don't you just want to get rid of selfishness? No, you don't. I am being, in order, if a wild dog came in here right now, me having the desire to save my life is me being selfish about me living and breathing. So I'm being selfish about that. Dog gotta die, or he's gonna get. Better yet, me and my lady was sitting outside, burning at the fire pit in our backyard last night. And I think we have a pet possum, y'all. We got a pet possum. I guarantee she gonna name this pet possum real soon. She gonna name it, because this is the second time that we've been in less than a month that we've been out there burning the fire, and this same possum come from the same direction and walk the same way And then when I tap on the, grab a little poker and hit the ground, he runs off into the woods. I think he's just like, come on, y'all, that's my fire. Can I get warm by the fire? But her pet possum keeps coming by every night. And I forgot why I'm telling y'all. Oh, so this pet possum. And last night when the pet possum was coming by, he got a little closer this time. I don't know if she realized it, but he got a little closer this time than he was last time. And is it selfish of me that I would take that poker and swing it at him, swat it at him to keep him away? I'm protecting from certain diseases if you mess around with a possum, And, he's a base animal, but I don't want to kill the possum because I'm not utilizing the possum for his meat or for his skin and it's for warmth. So I don't want to kill it. That's outside of nature. I think hunting for sport is outside of nature. There is a circle of life. So you want to keep that in balance. The only thing I wanted to do was scare the possum away so we can maintain our fight. Now, after we left and the thing was still a little warm, if you want to come there and sit on the porch, he's more than welcome. Because I recognize that the base reason why he's coming over there is not to do harm to us, not anything of that nature. That's not even a thought process of the possum. It's a little chilly. I sense there is some warmth somewhere. I'm going to head to that warmth. So to go in your mind and try to conceptualize what it's like to be that possum and its thought process. When you understand that, your ideas of killing it for the sake of killing it goes away. You elevate in your mind from just base killing, because you just don't like it. It's inconveniencing you, Now if something is a threat, like when that wasp come in the house, that's a threat to me because I'm slightly allergic. I'm somewhat allergic to the wasp. If there was a way to get the wasp out the house without killing it, I would. But them jokers are hard-headed. They just want to hang on the walls. They got to go. And I don't feel like being so swelled up that I might possibly have to go to the hospital. So he got to go. Sounds a little country, but it's the situations. You have to look at each situation. But when you can understand that, even though I'm not a big fan of the Avatar movies, but when I haven't seen the second one, probably won't until it's free. But that first one, when she killed the little dog thing, but she gave it honor. I know a lot of Native American cultures give it honor. They would use every part of the buffalo because it was part of the balance of it. You don't waste it. But we waste so many things. We don't give thought to so many things because we're not giving that thought to so many things. We're not giving the barbello. We're not giving the barbello to so many things, that forethought. We are living in a lower conscious state, which keeps us trapped to exist under the thumb of the Demiurge. The Tuesday in the live, at some point, I was talking about how no matter what our agreements or disagreements are, if you can't look at a person and say that you have the right to believe in creation, to believe in a God, to not believe in a God, to believe in the devil, to not believe in the devil, to believe in Jesus, to not believe in it, you have your right. We can discuss it, we can talk about it, we can debate it. But as far as me going to the point of judging you, to where I say that regardless of what you believe, you are held under the standard of my religion, so therefore you are going to go to hell and burn and all this kind of stuff, you are lacking mental elevation. You are lacking your ability to grow beyond this matter plane of existence. The Demiurge got you. You trapped here with the Demiurge. Someone asked me a few weeks ago about what is my thoughts on reincarnation. I honestly believe that those who cannot escape the mental consciousness of the Demiurge will bring their happy ass right back here. This is hell. Earth is hell. My Bizzle asked, whenever I get a chance, when did you realize that the devil was a fake concept? I was I was probably somewhere in my mid early 20s. Yeah, I was in my mid early 20s. Actually, I know exactly how old I was. I was 25 years old because that's when my daughter Sydney was born. And when she was born, the some of the last remaining concepts that I didn't agree with. I was already out of Christianity at that point, but some of those things were still there, that I still accepted. And like a devil was one of those things, and being born into sin was one of those things. So when Sydney was born, and I'm looking at this little infant baby, I'm like, there's no sin in this baby. When at the end of the flood story, it says that, the Demiurge is saying that every thought of man from the time of birth is evil. I'm looking at Sydney. She's not what thoughts is an infant who's only a day old having? What thoughts are they having? They're not having thoughts of murder, rape, greed. They're having thoughts of self-actualization of what's going on with them. I am brand new. This whole world, there's these lights. I know that I'm hungry, and my response is to cry out because I need something. I don't know what I need yet, but I need something. Oh, there's some food. That's what I need. I got it. When I cry out, when I have this pain here, I cry out, somebody give me something to eat. And I consume something, which I do just instantly, don't have to think about it. I get food. These are the thoughts that I imagine while I sat there and I watched my child. She was born at 30 weeks, sitting in this incubator. No bigger than, she was here to here, head to toe was there. And I'm sitting there and I'm just looking at her and I'm realizing that this idea of her being born into sin, a sinful world, it started me questioning the idea of even a sinful world, right? A disfigured world with duality, a world with duality, yes. But a sinful world, no. It just has duality within it. And so I started thinking about duality, okay? So the world has duality. Good and evil is a choice that I make every day, that you make in every instant. I'm making that choice. There's nothing outside of myself that's making that choice. I have complete autonomy of self-actualization to make that choice, as does everyone else. I understood the laws of cause and effect at that time frame. So it's like for every cause there is an effect, for every effect there is a cause. So if I show this child who's in this incubator touch and love, then this child receives touch and love and responds accordingly and imprints with me as her father, So I'm like, okay, I'm getting that. So it's through my daughter's first year that I started recognizing that the only devil is the one that we create ourselves. And it's the one that's inside. It's that duality within ourselves that allows for an idea of a devil, but there is no devil. The demiurge will be the closest thing to a devil because it wants to keep us trapped here. But the demiurge is more like a demigod that wants to keep us ignorant that it is not the all. That is not the all. And as long as we don't know that it's not the all, we think that it is the all, we will continue to remain here. The gentleman was saying Tuesday that God created man because he wanted something to love him. He wanted a heavenly family. And I kept telling him, if a deity has a desire to have love, then that deity is in lack. And if the deity is in lack, then it is not the all, because the all is in lack of nothing, right? So with that thought process, the demiurge will be the closest thing to the devil, but it's also this fake God too. So it's a fake devil and a fake God that has created all of this. Jeremy said, I heard once that the all sacrifice. I agree everything is within. Exactly, David. I heard it once said that creation is the all sacrificing itself to know itself. I used to accept that as well, but I had to let that go, right? Because I let it go because of the thought process of this. The all, if at any time didn't know itself, it would never have been the all. So how can it sacrifice itself to know itself and still be the all? to be the all, it has to already know itself. Everything else is just a mere thought of the all, not a sacrifice, just a thought. So it is not God trying to have a human experience, and that is who we are. We are just aspects. We are souls, spirits, energy, whatever term you want to use. And according to the Gnostic, the Demiurge trapped in these bodies. We didn't want to come here. We didn't want to be here. The purpose of the all in our manifestation was not us being here. But what the Demiurge did was, according to the Gnostics, was to take all the other eons, all the other thoughts, the quadrillions, millions of thoughts, and you are a thought of the all, and trap them in his matter creation that is Earth, that is our matter universe. And we are to escape. Heaven is escaping out, but it's not going to a one place. It's coming back to being separated from the matter plane and existing purely in the mental spiritual plane. So it's not going to a heaven where the all is sitting on a throne. That's Demiurge stuff. If not here, then where? Somewhere that right now is beyond any human's comprehension. As long as we exist here, that is the purpose of the elevation. That is purpose of the growth, is to realize that there is a plane of existence that is devoid of any of the aspects of this matter plane of existence. See, one of the problems with the heaven that the Demiurge, according to the Gnostics, has created for people, for us, for our soul, our Ka, is that heaven looks like earth. It's a new earth. It's a new city of Jerusalem. The streets are gold. You know, it has 12 trees that produce fruits for all the seasons, and you consume that while you're in this heaven. There's a throne. There's all this corporal matter that is in this heaven. You know, there's all these symbols that are exactly like earth in this heaven, whereas the all is beyond the concept of the matter plane. But how are we? You can't take the matter plane into the spiritual plane. It is this. It is a, you move into a different understanding. That's the process of transmutation. You transmute into a higher consciousness. You transmute into a higher plane of existence. In that existence, what do you need 12 trees for? What do you need rivers for? What do you need a throne for? What do you need to pray and praise and worship for if you're in the heaven? If that deity desires to have praise and worship, then that deity has a lack and has a need. So no one would be able to describe what that place, where it is and what it looks like, but it's just the knowledge that since there is a spiritual plane that is matterless, then it is, that's all we need to know. It's matterless, and it's a higher plane. It doesn't have this duality that we deal with because we are imbued with both the energy of the Demiurge and the all. And actually imbued with the Demiurge, the all, the Demiurge, the Christ mind, the plemora, and I gotta go back and look at the word again, barbello, with the barbello, all right? I don't know what the helix or the organic portals are. Don't say anything about the Bible wrong. I'm going to eat BS. You're going to eat shit. See, this is a person who lacks the higher consciousness of understanding, right? They're telling me to stick to politics. I don't even talk about politics. So you're on the wrong channel. You're absolutely on the wrong channel. Low level vibration. Instead of coming in having concise thought, this person, Carmi, Car, Carl McKenzie, jumps to threats. I'm going to disperse your character. I got to come at you all with this anger and all that kind of stuff. Stick to your politics. Don't talk religion. Sorry, boss. I ain't mean to step out of line. You know, I couldn't help it. But you see what I'm saying? Who is Carl to dictate what anyone talks about? That is a low vibrational mindset, sir. When you cannot simply swipe somewhere else, go find somebody who's talking about something that you would like to hear, that you enjoy, that benefits you, that works with your spirit, that connects with you, right? You should do that. Go talk to that person. But to come here and let your vibration get all dysfunctional, get all eradicated because you're hearing something that you don't want to hear, and the only thing you can do is respond with empty threats, with empty speech of trying to tell me what I should do. You have zero power over me. Therefore, why bother? You see, when I'm on these TikToks and I'm scrolling on Facebook, so whatnot, I don't know who you are asking for to get on my live, but you got to tell me why you want to be here, because I know people do those little challenge things and we're not doing those. If you don't have any power over me, when I'm scrolling on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, when I see people preaching sermons, when I see Muslims preaching, when I see people just arguing over things that I find to be low conscious level things, I just keep scrolling. No, going back. Now, if I do find myself to, actually, I am talking about religion. See, that's the thing you don't understand. I am actually talking about religion, but we're talking about the Demiurge and how the Old Testament God is, according to the Gnostics, is the Demiurge, which is why he's evil and does these evil things. And well, it's not so much evil. They didn't actually say that he was evil, that the Demiurge is evil. That is more New Age thought process that they're adding to the the Gnostic people. They were saying that the Demiurge had duality, that it didn't have the Christ mind or the forethought, the barbola, I done messed it up, damn it. But that's the beauty of scrolling. The barbelo didn't have the barbello, and that's why the Demiurge couldn't create a world that was in concert in the flow of the way of the creator. That's also why the Sophia, when the Sophia manifested the Demiurge was misformed because she didn't use the Sophia, although wisdom did not use the Christ mind and Barbello from the all to manifest the Demiurge, right? So you had all of this going on. So the Demiurge is just demiurging like it does, right? Because it's already messed up. This world would be amazing if people weren't greedy and intolerant. Yeah, the intolerance that people have, you know. You're not allowed to believe in what you want to believe. You have to believe what I believe, or I'll kill you, or I'm gonna call you all kind of things. I even stopped telling people what to believe or not. I just deal with reason and patience because I too used to be overzealous. All right. Even when I was Christian, when I was Christian, I wasn't overzealous. But if you ask me a question, I did try to convince you. I tried to convince the heck out of you. You're welcome, Sammy. So do you think the knowledge is to help escape or be the gods that we are and change this world? That's what the Gnostics thought it was, to escape, but I think that it's changed this reality not to escape. If we're gods, then we don't want to escape. No, I'm more in line with the Gnostics. Oh man, I have to ignore you. Um, it's to escape. It's to elevate your consciousness and escape this reality, to escape the matter plane of existence. I know that in Psalms it says that, ye are gods, and Yeshua quotes that as saying that, is it not written that ye are gods? That to me is the propagandizing of the Hebrew people into what becomes and into the Gentiles to keep you trapped here. If you look at this story of the war in heaven from the books of Enoch, you see that there's this war in heaven, and even it's referenced throughout the Bible. The earth was the place that was made as hell for the so-called devil, Lucifer, that was cast out, and for all his little demons were cast out to earth as their place of hell. So, that being said, why would we want to stay here? One, having a desire to maintain and try to make this place into heaven would, and I'm going to use the chakra system to explain this part, would never allow you to open your crown chakra, because opening your crown chakra is letting go of all your earthly attachments. So if you're still holding on to becoming gods on earth, gods in this matter plane of existence, then you're not letting go of all your matter plane attachments, so that your consciousness can leave. And the Gospel of Thomas talks about how when you don't know who you are, then your soul is existing in the body, and the body is poverty, and you're making the soul into poverty. That you have to realize that the body came into existence because of the soul, not the soul coming into existence because of the body. See, if you think that the soul is coming into existence because of the body, then of course the soul would want to make the matter plane of existence into a heavenly place. But because the soul didn't come into existence because of the body, but according to the teachings of the Gnostic, it was trapped here by the Demiurge, then it is the escape that allows the soul to truly come into self-actualization. You see, no matter how hard you try on this earth, until you can escape, you never come fully into the Christ mind. You never fully come into the Buddha mind. So then you never get into the flow of the way. It's nigh impossible here. You have to come to a point where you elevate high enough in consciousness to leave here. And then that's when you can truly be who you were thought of from the beginning by the all. Because remember, your ka, your soul, is a thought of the all. Your existence is a thought of the all. But then you are given the power of self-actualization and the power of the barbelo. I'm using that word all day. I don't want to be God. I don't want to. I'll be reading and somebody say something and moves it up. I want to be a good person and help others and get out of this place until it's a better place to be. Yeah, exactly. Then sometimes I think we are here to learn and to experience life and give that info to the all. If the all, I'm with you as far as experience life, get out of this joint. But if the all needed us to give it info, then it is not the all. The all must be complete. The all must be in full completeness at all times. Otherwise, it is not the all. If anything can be taken away from the all, it is not the all. If anything can be added to the all, then it is not the all. I think that to me, that thought process came about, like I first started hearing that one in the late 80s. That thought process, and it might have been talked about beforehand. That's just when I first started hearing about it. That thought process seems to be something that people like to say to give themselves higher purpose. I'm here because I'm part of the all to have a human experience so that the all can know what it's like to be human. If the all already didn't know what it was like to be human, then it is not the all. If the all doesn't already know what it's like to be a blade of grass, then it is not the all. If it doesn't know what it's like to be, you know, a hydrogen molecule, then it is not the all. The all is complete and total at all times, never having a need for anything, never can be added to or taken away from. This is why any form of a trinity is outside of the all. It is not part of the all. It is not a truth in the all. In the non-combined elaborated gospel of truth talks about that a little bit, but it is not part of it at all. And actually, if you go, another book that talks about the Demiurge is I don't know if it's called the Gospel of Adam and Eve or it's the Secret Writings of Adam and Eve. I think it might be called the Secret Writings of Adam and Eve, where he talks about he was chilling in his unity, and then the Demiurge split him. And then that's where you got Adam and Eve. And then after the Demiurge split him, the Demiurge did a whole bunch of other jacked up things, and then kicked them out of the Garden of Eden. And he's supposedly telling this story to Seth. This is why the Gnostics who really talk about the Demiurge they call themselves Sethians. And they call themselves Sethians because they thought that they believed that they was from the line of Seth. Right? Right? No need for worship or tithing. Absolutely not. There's no need for worship or tithing. Definitely no need for worship. A deity that requires worship is a deity in lack. Tithing is nothing wrong with donating or giving to whomever is whatever situation that provides your spirituality, your growth, or that you are gaining value from. Just as you have the choice of growing your food, or you can go and buy it at the grocery store. You have a choice. Whichever version you choose, providing gifts for it, donating to it, that's fine. When they force tithing, therein lies the problem. Like, if some people on my YouTube way back, they were saying, like, I don't want to become a member of your YouTube because you don't do anything special for people outside of your, who are members. You don't do special videos for us. You don't do. If I was doing it on my cigar channel, I might do something that gives the cigar people who has a membership some discount because that's a natural exchange. But I'm not going to, on this channel, withhold information from the masses and give the group something special. Now, when I start doing live events, those who are members, would I give them a discount? Because now that's different. It's a live event. But for their donation that supports the channel, it's just given out. Live events, if I ever do that, that'll be different. But which I do plan to do live events at some point. So I don't have a problem with tithing as far as giving. I have a problem with forcing it. Now, that's one of the differences that was noticed between the Gnostics and what the Gnostic and many other versions of Christianity back in the day, is that the Old Testament, Abraham saw Melchizedek, gave him 10%, give 10%. Malachi, will a man rob God? But will a man rob God? Yet he has robbed me, and all this other kind of stuff. That's forcing the tithe. Yeshua, the old lady give 2 pennies. The rich people come with the horns and all that kind of stuff. She's giving more because she gave from her heart. She gave from her heart, so she's giving more. So it was more about you give something because you're giving it because you just feel you desire to give it. You appreciate what it is, and so you give it, right? So in that regard, if churches, I would like churches better if they taught it that way. I've only been to like 2 churches that teaches giving that way, and I applaud them for it. I actually went up to that pastor afterwards. I said, you know what? Although I don't agree with Christianity, I applaud you for how you are doing that. You know? And so, let's see, I don't want to miss too many of y'all questions. The all is expressing itself through all of us. What it's like to be you, what it's like to be me, experiencing itself, what it's like to be a tree. That's all I review. I review it. All right. And we are just expressions of the all. But the thing I was saying earlier, the all doesn't need it. You know, it's allowing its thought that became us to experience it. And it's only allowing it. Now, the Demiurge, that's a whole nother story when you add that little part in there. Do I necessarily agree with the Demiurge? It's one of those, don't know. To the full extent that they taught the Demiurge, definitely not. But a lesser being creating this matter plane existence, I can see the aspects of it, and I can see how it's been taught, and I can see how it's been the initial pathway to get people to rise to a higher conscious level. But then after that, I am pretty, after you get past the ideas of Gnosticism and really get into the Buddha, this is why they put the Buddha mind higher than the Christ mind, because in the Christ mind, you have the ideas of a demiurge manifesting and creating. In the Buddha mind, it is beyond, there is no demiurge that is manifesting and creating. And then when you get to the of course, in the Lao Tzu mind, that's what I'm calling it, in the Tao mind, in the Tao mind, it is not, there's no demiurge that is manifesting and creating. It is just the choice, the experience. All things, all creation, everything manifested is a manifestation of the mind of the all, even the matter plane of existence. We are part of that manifestation. Our elevation is for our benefit of the experience, not for the all's benefit of experience. The all just creates simply because it creates. It manifested certain laws of the universe. The law of cause and effect. For every cause there is an effect. For every effect there is a cause. There is no such thing as luck, chance, or miracle. If I take a step, I move from one place to another place. That is a basic idea of cause and effect. Right? It's just a basic step. That's a basic thing. Now, take that basic concept, apply it over everything in your life of cause and effect. In the Emerald Tablet, it talks about how where once you understand the law of cause and effect, then the scepter of power is in your hand, right? Because you become an incredibly powerful person in manifesting and consciousness when you realize the power of cause and effect in its duality. Because remember, everything exists on a pole. Your cause and effect can create evil, can create negativity. Your cause and effect can create heaven. It can create greatness. You know, if I don't come in here to work today, what is the effect? Don't make any money. If I do that consistently and we don't make any money, I can't pay the bills, the lights get turned off, you get evicted. Now I don't have money to pay for, can't pay the mortgage, can't pay the car note, can't buy food, you can't do any of those things. So that simple causation of not coming in here consistently to open this up and run it well begins to create a lack in my matter plane existence of life. But if I come in here and I do the job well, I make the place clean, the people have a good time, it's comfortable, they get products that they desire to have, they enjoy the space, they tell other people, more and more people come, it opens up the door for me to hire people. I get to go and study and more and do more of the things that build me. Then I have increased in my life because I was willing to do the causational things in the beginning that manifest those increases. So when you understand cause and effect, and then you take that to even higher understandings, if I remain mentally impoverished, spiritually impoverished, then I cannot ascend to a higher plane of existence. If I stay in a low vibration, I can never rise to the higher vibration of the spiritual plane. If I stay low vibrational where I judge everybody, where I try to force, um, where I try to force everybody to believe what I believe, where I try to force you to perform the rituals that I perform, then I'm staying in a low vibration. And in that low vibration, I can never rise to the higher vibration. My frequency will never match the frequency of the next plane of existence. You see what I'm saying? So understanding just that one law, which that one law works with the law of vibration, the law of rhythm, the law of polarity, the law of mentalism, the law of gender, and the law of correspondence. I almost forgot one. Yeah, I got some statements going on today. I was watching the brother's channel, and he broke down the whole story down, dealing with the planets Jupiter, Saturn, and how the Earth was formed from it. It was deep and interesting. Okay, that'd be a cool video. I don't know if you know what the name of it is, but if you know what the name of it is, throw it on here. I always going to read other people's stuff, listen to other people's stuff as well. That's one way that we grow, is to gain different perspective, listen to other people and have different perspective, and give them the opportunity. Like, I never walk into a situation with a mind already made up. You know, I'm first going to listen to the information and then make my decision as to what is acceptable and what is not. The all is mental, right? Yes, the all is mental. Yeah, the all is completely mental. The all has no body, has no matter form. The all is outside of the universe and is the universe all at the same time, because it is the all. The all is conscious thought, intelligence that manifests everything through thought. It doesn't manifest anything first by any other format. Everything that you manifest, that you create, first begins as a thought in your mind. It all begins as, if you wanted to build an airplane, you think about it, you design it in your mind first, and then you get into the cause and effects, the actions to manifest it, you know, to make it real. You know, so everything starts with a mental creation. This is when all these books and teachings say that we were made in the image of, it's really talking about we're made in the mental imagery of. We have the mental ability of, we have the mental likeness of. No, yeah, all doesn't need us to collect data. If you don't know what I'm talking about, because you're too busy arguing and already got a made up mind, so you can't hear anything that I'm talking about. Because before you hear and think about anything that I'm saying, I'm talking to Carl over here, before you hear or think about anything I'm saying, you've already decided what your response is going to be. You know, that's not hearing someone. You know, it's like when I talk to people about in their relationships. If the other person is giving you a grievance, stop thinking about what your response is going to be or how you're going to defend yourself. Listen to them. Try to get the essence of what they're talking about first. Shit. I'm missing some. Okay. The same thing with the Almighty God that has negative human actions and thoughts. I could not accept the Old Testament God. Right, I couldn't accept the Old Testament God either. I mean, he's weak. He's a weak God, exactly. It's the human ego. Very weak. It's like a little spoiled little person, like, you better love me or I'm going to throw you in the hell. I'm going to punish you for all eternity. It's the human, the ego, the dark, the yin and the yang. Right, the yin and the yang is our duality that we have. With the idea of a multitude of infinite dimensions, is it possible, do you guys think that a reality is possible where the Hebrews are 100% correct? Is it possible that there is a reality where life is like Star Wars? Is it possible that the Mormons are correct? Is it possible that there are entities out there like Star Wars? Yes. Is it possible that there's a universe where the Mormons are correct and all that kind of stuff, and the Hebrews are correct? No. Because all of those, every religion makes God small. Right? The first thing in the Tao says that the moment you give the way a name, it is no longer the way that can be named is no longer the way. You know. So the moment you give it a name and put it in a box, it's too small. That's why I like the term the all, because the all can never be minimized, because the all, all means all, and that's all means, right? It's infinite. But when you put a God in a book, you put him in a name, you start calling him Jehovah, Yahshua, and all this kind of thing, you've made him small. When you start saying that, well, he came to these little people in the Levant, and then if you believe on him in this Levant, then you go into heaven. If you don't, you go into hell. Well, 1,000 years went by before some of my ancestors ever heard of this joker. So that's a lack. That's a limited God. You talking about the Barbelo, which is forethought. Its forethought was merely, I can only give the information to this small community and wait 1,000 years for it to reach the Americas. Wait 1,000+ years to reach other parts of the world, and then expect people to accept it as truth. And then what of all those people who lived and died? The Barbelo would have much more forethought than that, right? It would have much more forethought than that. So a multiverse, multi-dimensional plane where any religion is right would not be. It would be an impossibility, because the religion in itself would make it wrong. Now, one where one religion dominates over the other ones, I can give you that one. The 42 laws of Mayat, the 7 immutable laws. Yep, those are the things that really help me in my growth. The Demiurge is the agent creator who its role is to create the new world for God instead of God himself doing it. I've never seen a Gnostic teaching that would lend itself to that the Demiurge and God were working in concert together. They actually, in the Gospels, the Nag Hammadi writings, the Dead Sea Scrolls, some of the other writings that would have been found throughout Kemet and the Levant, actually disagrees with that. I've never, and if there is one, I'd be more than happy to go and research it. But I've never seen that where they're working together. Alchemists, yep. Hold on. That one got a little hot, like it wanted to burn my eyebrow. I be having weird ideas. You ain't the only one. But that's what it takes, though, man. Something you want to be able to think. You want to test the limits. Think about things that are way outside of the norm. Don't just be accepting of what they've always said. And then think through them. Take the time to think through it. Based on as much information as you have. It's similar to the logos in Christianity. Yeah, but I just don't. I've never heard of that one in reference, and that doesn't mean that I'm right and you wrong. Just never heard of it. That's all. And I wouldn't necessarily agree with it. That the Demiurge was given creation because the creator didn't want to do this work. Right? Like ideas of the creator having to rest and all of that is like the creator does not need rest. Why would an infinite, all-powerful being need rest? Or even, and then it goes like, well, it demonstrated rest because it wanted man to rest. As if man would not have figured out on his own that it needed to rest. Like, you got to be told? We're not that stupid. The Yahweh is a national God. It is the God of the nation fighting for its people and destroying others. Yeah, it is. It's a propagandized God. Just like all the deities that are named are propagandized gods that are based on the culture to which they exist in, that made them up, that created them. These gods did not create man. Man created them. Man created Amun. Man created Ra. Man created Tahuti. Man created Enlil, Enki. Man created, Vishnu and Lamishka. Man created the feathered serpents and Quetzalcoatlus and all these people. They never created us. Man created Oshun, Ogun. But earlier than all those religions, the Kemetic people understood the Ogdo, the creative energy that manifested everything from itself. In the Hermetics, the alchemists understood the monad, the creative, intelligent energy that created everything. All these prior to these lower manifestation of deities that are anthropomorphized in human forms and animal forms, man understood an overall intellect, and that's why the Gnostic call it the plemora. They understood that, and that is what manifested everything else. But we had to crunch them down into small bits so that we can understand it, so that we can be accepting, so that it's acceptable to us, and then we utilize it. This is why we work sometimes on a lower vibration. We utilize it to colonize people. We utilize it to enslave people. We utilize it to make women less than, to create racism, to create sexism, to create classism. We utilize religions to fight wars. And really, it's not even over religion. It winds up being over resources, but religion is used as the scapegoat for the resources. And it's also used for control, to control the people. The Crusades weren't about a holy crusade. They were about, if we are controlling the Holy Land, then we can say that God is for us. And if God is for us, the rest of you jokers need to bow down to the church. Because look at what God has done through the church. But that is even done on a lower plane, on a lower thought process. How many times... Well, look at how many churches are telling people, if you want to have increase in your life, come to the church. If you want to get a spouse, come to the church. If you want in it, it's playing on everybody's lack and desire to have. If you have a lack of something and a desire to have something else, come to the church. We can get it. You know why? Because you see Brother Jenkins over there. Brother Jenkins over there was broke, didn't have no money. He gave himself to Christ. Once he gave himself to Christ, God opened up the doorways for him, and now Brother Jenkins is driving a Mercedes. Brother Jenkins got a $600,000 house. Brother Jenkins has a business that's making X amount of dollars every year. Brother Jenkins, because he gave himself to the Lord. But then you go to the synagogue, and you got Joseph over here. He got the same story. You go to the mosque, right? You got Muhammad over here. He got the same story. You go to the Ifa temples, and she got the same stories. Everybody got the same stories of somebody who came in and they gave themselves to it, and then they prospered. And then the Christian gonna tell the Muslim that the devil gave him his stuff, and the Muslim gonna tell the Christian that the devil gave him their stuff. They all gonna point to the other one and say, the devil gave you yours, but God gave me mine. That's why you need to come on over to my side. If the devil gave you $1 million, Allah will give you 10 million. Well, if Allah gave you $1 million, God will give you 100 million. It's the lower vibrational mindset that they all have. That's the lower vibrational mindset. Instead of just recognizing that there are 7 immutable laws, and there are a whole bunch of laws even within those laws, like the laws of reciprocity, the laws of sowing and reaping. They all still fall under the law of vibration, the law of cause and effect, and the law of polarity, and the law of rhythm, and the law of polarization. They all fall up under those same laws. If you polarize yourself to the right of any endeavor, polarize yourself in any endeavor, you will begin to reap the benefits of that endeavor. The only time a negative form hits is when somebody else's causation is stronger than your causations, creates a higher vibration than yours. So I own a cigar lounge right here. If somebody opened up one across the street, but they had a bigger and better inventory, nicer space. They got a bar, they got restaurant, they got, you know, I don't know, a live lounge singer, and it's just, oh my God. And that's what the people around here want. And guess what? Their causation might be strong enough to cause my results, my effect is to go out of business. It could happen. But you got to understand that law. It's competition. There's competition within the law because we're all expressing the laws at the same time, right? But the beauty of your elevated growth in consciousness is that there is no competition. See, in materialism, there's competition. In money, there's competition. In business, there's competition. Even in love, there is competition, right? You got a beautiful woman. That dude over there sees that you got a beautiful woman. Y'all might be competing. Even if y'all been together for 20 years, that dude may try to compete with you for the love of that woman. And the same thing vice versa. But your own self-actualization, there is zero competition. It is completely, as Marcus Aurelius wrote in his memoirs, it is completely up to you. That is one of the very few, and I can't even think of another one right now, but I'm sure there might be, I'm sure there is, where everything is up to you. There's no competition. You have full autonomy over your results. Good people don't always win because bad people can be more powerful. The universe doesn't care. Exactly. And that's the thing. The all doesn't care. People want to put this idea of the all is this, I'm watching over the people kind of all. But if the all was watching over, this is how I miss my son. He's going to Air Force boot camp. But this is how he would say this part. He's watching over people. If they all wanted to watch over people, and he's, like, oh, you poor little person, I'm gonna take care of you. But then here's this child over here starving, but you praising God because God came and gave you a new car, but then he ain't paying attention to this poor little child over here starving. God gave you a husband, but he ain't paying attention to this person who got cancer and they're dying of cancer. They prayed too. They believe just as much as you do. But he thought it's more important to give you a husband or give you a wife than it is to cure the person of cancer. That just doesn't I hope my son sees this because he'll see me acting like him. That just doesn't jive. Just doesn't work. That doesn't make any sense. The all is not all involved like that. That's just man. That's just the earth. Circumstances. What do you do with those circumstances? What do you do with life? How your grandmother used to tell you, when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, right? What if you don't like lemonade, though? Well, then go find something else in life. Go get something else. You have the power to go get it, all right? So why stick and stay there and say, well, God has only given me this, so I'm just going to be happy with that. Isn't that the thing with Job? Job told his wife, what God giveth, God can take away, that whole thought process. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. No, you don't. No. And within the next 2 years, moving to Puerto Rico. I have the barbelo to know that hurricanes come through Puerto Rico. If we get a house on the beach or get a house in the hills, no matter where the house is, depending upon where the house is, depending upon the strength of the hurricane, how it hits, the angles and all that kind of thing, will determine whether or not the house stands. If the house comes from the south north or goes north south, depending upon where the house is, the house will stand, the house will fall. It may not matter between those, depending on what debris is flying around. The house stands, the house falls. There are so many variables to whether or not the house stands or house falls. It has nothing to do with a God. It's the fact that I know that there is a hurricane that will come, that is possible to come every year. Now I go there with the barbado of knowing that this is a possibility. So if at any time the hurricane comes and it destroys the house, I'm not going to blame God for it. God didn't destroy the house. And at the same time, if the hurricane comes and the house is not destroyed, I'm not thanking God for it either, because God had nothing to do with it. Either way, it is natural laws that are in place. The Atlantic current that comes from Africa to the Caribbean is a natural occurrence that has been happening for eons, for so long. It just happens. Now, I have to make the decision of how I'm going to. Do I want to go there? My lady has to make the decision. Does she want to go there? She going, but she has to make that decision. We both have to make that decision. We then have to make a decision of where we want to live, and is it the best structure? Is it the best location? Do we have get the hell out of town money when the hurricane does come? Ensuring all of that. We have to make those decisions. We have to respond to those things. And if something happens, you have to be in the mindset that, okay, if the house was destroyed, now what do we do to pick up the pieces? Do we rebuild? Do we find another place? Do we still stay there? Or do we go to a different island? Do we go South Caribbean where they don't have as many hurricanes? Like, what do we do at that point? We have that power. We make those decisions. You have that power. You make all of those decisions. The Quran says that men change the word of God, and that's not the fault of God. I didn't know that the Quran says that, but I agree that men do change. Okay, I agree to a certain degree. I don't believe that. So no disrespect to you, you're Muslim. If that makes you happy, that makes you a great law-abiding person who won't rape, kill, and pillage. Stay Muslim. All right, but I don't agree that any of these books are the fullness word of God. All these books have concepts in them that can elevate your consciousness so that you can escape and get to the consciousness of get closer to the consciousness of the way of the creator of the all, because you'll never be the all. But they are all filled with a whole bunch of man stuff. Every last one of them are filled with some man stuff, some man cultural stuff, because some of the rules and some of the ideas and thought processes only work to maintain the culture of the time frame that they were written. There is absolute change. One of those laws of the universe is change. Change is a constant of the universe. Cultures change. So any book that was written in 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, cannot be accurate to the culture of today. Like, we can't. You don't, never, none. I don't even know. That just threw me off. But it all changes. We're not an agrarian culture, so a lot of the things that they talk about, like when you look at how you make a priest in the Old Testament, you gotta slaughter some goats and animals. You splashing blood on the altar. You splashing blood on their clothes. You putting blood on their body. You doing all this blood work with this animal sacrifice to make somebody into a priest in the Old Testament, right? And when you say source for what? If you're talking about the priest thing, I think that's in Judges. But if you Google, and the question in Google is something like, how did ancient Israelite, what's the word I'm looking for? Make people into a priest or something like that. You'll be able to find it. Or the priest ritual in the Old Testament. Because God put these men in charge to preserve his revelation, his books, like the Torah and the Psalms and the Gospel have been corrupted because men, whether they were Jews or not, cannot keep the word of God. Teach his own on that. Nobody can actually ever prove that any book is the word of God. You can't. It's not provable. It's belief. And if a person has a belief, you are more than welcome to it. That sounds demonic what the priest did in the Old Testament. And that's the thing. A lot of people today, that's why I say culture. These books are culturally influenced because if you went to a church today and they were splashing blood all on the altar and doing all this kind of stuff, people would say it's demonic, but it's actually what's written in the Old Testament. It's what's written in the Old Testament. Having slave wives is written in the Old Testament. You should be able to have some slave wives. You know, it's the Old Testament. You should be able to have it. You know, New Testament as well. They never outlawed slavery in the New Testament either. So slave wives is cool. Chattel slavery, cool. Didn't outlaw if you rape a girl and she ain't betrothed somebody, pay the daddy 50 pieces of silver, she got to marry you. Old Testament. Still in there. You good. But we know that our culture today, that wouldn't work. We wouldn't have it. See, you need to see a talking donkey before you believe it. I'm gonna need more than you know what? I honestly would need more than a talking donkey, because people can, you know, I'm gonna need to do something more because you know, people today's technology, they liable to insert some box inside the donkey's throat through some surgery, and all of a sudden they speaking from a microphone and it's wireless, and the damn donkey seems like it's talking. He ain't talking. We're gonna do. I'm just saying, okay. This guy the other day was saying that he was Jesus, right? And I told him, I said, okay, if you're Jesus, come sit next to me right now. All right, you're Jesus, come sit next to me right now. And he said, that's true, Whitney Houston performing in Vegas right now. Do that. Appear right now, at this very moment, you Jesus, come sit with me next time. And of course, the dude didn't say another word the rest of the whole life. You know, he didn't text nothing else. Because you ain't Jesus. You ain't what this book says. People, they can claim this stuff, but you have no proof of it. But those were things that people, those kind of rituals back in those days were things that was from their culture and a little bit previous to their culture. Like, we still got some things today that are holdover. We're in 2023. We got some holdover cultural things from 2010, from the early 2000s, from the 1990s. But as generations die off, as new technology comes about, as new governments come into play, and all these other changes, we have there are cultural changes that you just that the old stuff starts to fall away. Go to Canada. They got the Queen James Bible. The Bibles in Canada doesn't say anything about homosexuality because they have laws in Canada that outlaw that type of speech. That's considered hate speech, so they outlaw that. So, and that was, I think that was in like the late 90s, early 2000s when that came out. So you give it another 20, 30 years, 40 years, and when the older generation has died out in Canada, for the Canadians who will be in their 40s and 50s, to them the Bible doesn't say anything about homosexuality. And so homosexuality is okay, according to the Bible, because they will not have any Bibles that says that, that say that. So you change an entire culture by changing certain aspects of you. They would have then changed the entire culture. 100 years from now, they will swear up and down that that is the original, that God wanted it that way. That's why it was taken out. For those who are intelligent enough, well, resourceful enough to go research it, they'll say that. That's what we did. That's what God did. God made sure he sent Prime Minister such and such, and they convened. God moved over, you know, the Parliament, and the Parliament voted it in because God's hand moved over Parliament, and they voted it that we ain't gonna have any hate speech. So we got rid of the homosexuality because God loves all his children. And everybody has a right to the kingdom. God is a forgiving God. And that's what they'll be preaching 100 years from now. Because they've changed it. They've changed it. And so if they've changed it in our lifetime, your current lifetime has been changed. Right? How many things have changed since before then? You said the word homosexual added in 1940. Yeah, it was added to homosexuality, but the verses that says that I suffer not a man to lay with another man as he would a woman. That's been in there, you know. So, and my thing is, throughout most of man's history, homosexuality has been this weird thing, right? It's like, hey, young boys are for pleasure, but when it's time to get married, you only marry a woman, kind of thing. You know, fornication in the Greeks, for the Greeks, was just grown men having sex with young boys. The Romans went a little crazy. They went a little cray with it, but throughout most cultures, they've always had this thing where them molesting young boys was okay. They were for fun, and still today, and there are certain countries where they still have that mentality. Um, they have to give us that briefing before we went into before we went to Saudi Arabia, before we went to Dubai and Bahrain. They have to give us that briefing that if, when you see that, don't freak out, right? So now, I'm not gonna go there, which is European masculinity. I have seen that that has been in cultures longer than before Europeans started colonizing, bro. I know we have a tendency to do that, but that's not, nah. That's been in cultures. When you study the history of cultures, you'll see that mentality in cultures before they ever met a European. You know, but anyway, so, but look at how much they've changed these books over these centuries based on their cultures. You know, they added the transatlantic slave trade to a certain extent. That now they got a whole group of people fighting about it, saying that, yeah, we was in there. No, you weren't. Transatlantic slave trade was never in this book. But you got people now claiming that it was, because it was added in the 1600s in order to justify the slavery that was going on, so that the European Christians were fine with it. You know, so you have all of this kind of stuff going on. Who are you? Coach Renz. That's who I am. You have to be more expressive in that question. You know. Sometimes I entertain foolishness. What I deem as foolishness. Because when they say, "Why do you love your master?" So you've heard me talk. If you've been on here for the entire time, you've heard me talk for almost 2 hours, and you make the assumption of whom I love. In that, you make the assumption as to who I am, who I love, all this kind of stuff, in a couple of hours. You absolutely have no knowledge of me. Excuse me for a minute. One of my phone, I gotta plug this power cable in. But I always find that interesting, because the thing about it is I don't have any masters. Nobody masters me. I master myself. I have no masters. Oh, not me? Oh man, see, if you're saying not me, you gotta put the other person's name in there. You know how I say, like, you at that person? Because when it doesn't say that, I figure the people are talking to me. So my apologies. My apologies. My apologies. The Quran is the word of, okay, I'm not going to really get into that today, but the Quran is the word of God because it has unique linguistic styles of Arabic. That is why men can't change it. Just because somebody can't change the writing of a book doesn't mean that it is the word of God. You know what I'm saying? That's not validation of a deity, right? You need more than that to prove a deity. Other than that, it's faith, and faith is fine. If you want to just believe something, that's fine. I'm not telling you can't, but when it comes to like scientific proof, reality proof, that's not proof. That's proof of literature. That's proof of what people believe. It's not proof of reality. Now, if you want to believe it, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what I was saying earlier. When you come into a higher vibration, you can recognize the difference between the two and be accepting of both. And say that I can dwell with people I can break bread with people. I can have fun with people. I can do all these things. I can love a person. And we don't have to have the same belief. We don't have to, I don't have to share in your belief. But now when you can't, if we can't be cool, what's your name? Noir? No, I'm messing your name up. I'm sorry. But if we can't be cool simply because you Muslim and I'm not, and I do deconstruction, to me that's lower vibrational stuff. Because they ain't got nothing to do with how I would treat you. You see what I'm saying? I would treat you as a person, as a divine being. I would treat you with honor and respect, and I would expect the same thing to come back to me. If we have a disagreement, we should be able to talk about it like grown people, and then come to a mutual agreement of we disagree. Because what you're claiming is the same thing that the Jewish people claim. Can you be awakening through the mind? Through the mind, yes. But it's more than the mind. All right. So biologically, the synaptics in your brain that allows you to think. You have similar synaptics in your heart. You have similar synaptics in your stomach, your gut. You have similar synaptics, in the ping ping or in the poom poom. Okay. Now, so each one of them has a thinking process, is what I'm saying. This is why I like the chakras. This is why I like talking about chakras, because the chakras kind of work very well with as a metaphor for it. When you open up your chakras, your sacral chakra, your power chakra, your heart chakra, your third eye, that's when you can come to an awakening. You might get spurts here and there when they're not fully open, but when they're fully open, that's when you come to your awakening. So that means that you exist without fear. You exist without fear, without guilt, without shame, without the fear without the pain of lost love, without telling lies to yourself, without the disconnection of the universe, and you are not holding on to earthly attachments. That's when you come into a full awakening, right? That's when you start to truly reach the Christ mind, and then on up to the Buddha mind, and then up to the Tao mind. That's when you fully rise, right? But you got to open all of those up fully, not just like half. You got the door cracked, not just the door cracked. That door got to be wide open. The door has to be completely wide open. So it's more than just how you think here. How you think here, right? How do you think in your gut? Did you let your gut lead you when it's connecting to? See, your gut doesn't. Your heart. You can know something is right or wrong in your heart mind, right? But you can emotionalize yourself in or out of it. You can know something is right in your mind, but you can reason yourself in or out of it. And we know what the ping ping mind be doing, especially for men. We know what the ping ping mind be doing. I was just being told a story yesterday about a dude who, my lady was telling me about it. I think she was telling me. I'm pretty sure she was the one telling me about it. It's some Kevin Hart interview with this guy, and he's like, he tells women straight up, he don't want to have any babies, and if they get pregnant and have a baby, then he's not gonna take care of the baby. He ain't paying no child support. He ain't doing all this kind of stuff. He thinking with his see that ping ping mind is jacked up, right? If he was thinking about if he had that lust, that ping ping in order, then he would recognize, if I don't want to have children, then I will get a vasectomy. And if I still want to have sex, I will get a vasectomy, or I will use a condom, which is still not 100%. Or I would only mess with women who've had their everything taken out. You would think through the process and evaluate what is the situation that I can go through so that I can still have sex but not have any children, and come to an emotional and a rational agreement about that so that you don't go produce. But I think the guys have produced like 7 children now. So you really got to gain control over every mind that exists within you to make sure to open up your chakras, so to speak, so that you can rise in your manifestation, in your creation, in your who you are, in your, as we were talking about the demiurge, in your Christ mind, so which is self actualization, you determining who you are, not outside entities, outside forces, culture, conditions, determining who you are. Your mind can't be awakened. It's no awakening. Your mind have been programmed by you. Okay. If I understand you, I'm not sure if I understand what you're saying. Your mind cannot be awakened. It no awakening. Your mind have been programmed by you. Okay. Well, all I can say is, you have paperwork. Oh, you're talking to somebody else. That's what the whole reprogramming is. That's why you, what is it that you got to pour the cup out in order to fill it with something new? You can't pour clean water into a dirty cup. You got to clean the cup. So that's why we deconstruct. Not only do we deconstruct these religious books, but we have to deconstruct our views on relationships, on love. We have to deconstruct our views on politics, on society, on culture, on government. No one should have an allegiance to a government. No one should have an allegiance to a land. You shouldn't have an allegiance to any matter existence thing. Like when people, like with my car, I always tell people it's just a car. I don't have an allegiance to my car. It's just a car. It gets me from A to B. It takes me where I want to go. It has certain attributes so that I can live my life the way I want to live it, but it's just a car, right? Life is that way. We shouldn't. Now, is that hard? Hell yeah, it's hard as hell. It is not easy. That's why so few people will reach enlightenment. Okay, let me repeat. At any given point in time, so few people reach enlightenment. Like, I know a lot of the people who are talking today, they're saying we're coming into the age of Aquarius, we got all the indigo children out there, all these kind of things, and we about to hit this enlightenment stage. Mass enlightenment will rarely happen. Rarely happen. And maybe the age of Aquarius, that's what it represents for the next 2,600 years, is an age of enlightenment where we would hit a pinnacle where there be mass enlightenment. I don't know. I don't think so. Because it's an individual journey. Everybody has an individual journey. Then we're so spread out, and we're so, we caught up in so many different cultures and ways of thinking, and then we're like, it's people, all these people who like pray for Ukraine, pray for Ukraine, pray for Ukraine. You know, the overwhelming majority of people in America never even heard of Ukraine, couldn't point it out on a map, didn't know anything. The day before could care less about the people in Ukraine. But it's because the government brought notice to it. Because Putin did what he did, and then the Americans said what they said, and everybody picked sides. And everybody's all of a sudden, oh. And there are atrocities happening all over this world. But unless it's brought to your attention, you don't know, and you don't care. So, why holding on to these allegiances, holding on to these earthly things? You know, that people ask me sometimes, why is it, you know, they're like, man, I don't see how you just can pick up and just move to another country. I don't think I could do that. You know, or they'll say, man, I don't know, I couldn't live over there forever. I got to keep, like, they ask, like, certain countries I talk about, you got to give up your American passport, because I couldn't give up my American citizenship. I got to keep my American citizenship. I'm like, why don't I don't need it. I plan on never living back here again. If I ever decided I wanted to come back and live here, I just immigrate, be an immigrant and come back, but I wouldn't be an immigrant, but you know what I mean. It's like they so trapped by the American culture and believing that they have to have that American passport, that American citizenship. And citizenship is not real. It's not real at all. Nationality is not real. It's a man-made construction. So I can't hold on to any man-made constructions. Ooh, it's 12:14. Is breeding evil? No, breeding is not evil. What is the truth? I heard a lot of interesting theories on YouTube. The truth. The truth is incredibly subjective, is what I would definitely say about that. The truth is that none of these religions are the finite word of God or the infinite word of God. They're not. Everybody has a clue, but man has corrupted all the, man has surrounded those clues with a whole bunch of bullshit. The truth is, it is for you to go on your own personal journey of enlightenment. And that path may lead you different ways. I do like how when Christians talk about when you have the Holy Spirit will guide you in your path. I do like that. But it is not so much a Holy Spirit that is outside yourself, nor a Holy Spirit that had to come down. It is a spirit that you naturally already have and you already are. Your true spirit that you decide, that you manifest, you self-actualize it. That will lead you into a pathway that connects with you. We are coming from billions of different perspectives. So the only real truth is yours. Yours. Now, if you were truly trying to ascend to a higher level of consciousness, you recognize that no truth of yours can actually be a truth if it in any way inhibits someone else from living out their truth peacefully and prosperously. Your truth cannot be robbing. Your truth cannot be raping and murdering, because you're infringing on someone else's truth and someone else. And so if you're infringing on someone else's truth in that format, then that cannot be your truth. So your truth has to be devoid of that, but it is only your truth. And that's the only one that matters. You know what? I'm gonna use that one. So my man on TikTok says, and I don't have my glasses, I can't really see the name great, but I think it's like, he said, the Almighty God didn't trust man with the damn fruit, let alone his word. You can't be trusted with a tree of fruit. Why are you gonna trust you with his word? Is being fruitful evil? Like having kids and breeding? No. There's nothing wrong with having kids, and no, it's not evil. Now, what you do after having those, when you have those kids, that could be determined as evil or not. What was it? Somebody had some kids and then they murdered the children. It was some. I don't watch the news that often, but I don't know if it was a man or a woman, but they had some kids. Killed the kids. You doing all that. When I was in Spain, I had my daughter on my back, my little daughter. I had these Russian people offering to buy my daughter. They wanted to give me $125,000 for my daughter back in '96. If I was a person who was having the babies to sell the babies, that would be some evil breeding. But yeah, after that was weird though. Yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't weird because I know there's a huge black market for black babies in Russia and a lot of those northern Scandinavian countries. You are the creator of this delusion. Yeah. But we're gonna get ready to close out, guys. It is after 12, and normally I will keep going even when somebody's not here. But since nobody's here, I need to run to the post office because I got to send my son some cigars and his cigar box, since he's graduated from Air Force boot camp and he requested his cigar box, so it is about to get sent. So I appreciate you guys. Hey, look, I might do another live on Saturday. I might do one tomorrow. I ain't doing one tomorrow. I know I got to run around and do before I come to work. But I might do one on Saturday. I might do one on Sunday. I don't know. Depends on what time I get here. Depends on what's going on or at home. But definitely, y'all know the schedule. Monday, we'll continue with our journey of what's wrong with the Bible. I think we're doing Exodus 7 and 8, and there's something I forgot for this week on 6 that I got to that I got to bring up for 7 and 8. But it was something that I forgot in 6, and I was reminded of it like the other day. I was like, oh shit, I wish I'd had that in there. But I'm gonna throw that in there on Tuesday. So we're doing Exodus 7 and 8 on Monday. We're going through this whole Noah story. You know, we broke down a tremendous amount of information about the Kemetic Moses story that happened before Moses, and the multiple Kemetic stories that happened before Moses. If you didn't see that, you won't find it on TikTok, but you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. You go to that YouTube channel, you go into the playlist, you can see the one that says What's Wrong with the Bible Exodus, and you can catch up. But we've already done everything, and we've already done all the books of Genesis. So that's over on my YouTube page. It's on my Facebook page, but it's a lot harder to find, so that's why I say go to the YouTube page, and you'll be able to find that. So that on Tuesday, you're right there with us at 10 a.m. Tuesday. Why I keep saying Monday? I gotta do this interview on Monday. That's why I keep saying Monday. But on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, we normally do a live on relationships, but I had to go pick up some stuff yesterday, so we didn't do it. And then today, on Thursday, we just talk about different things different spiritual concepts on Thursdays. So, and I don't know what we're going to be talking about next Thursday yet, but just be here. But on Tuesday, I'll know what we're going to talk about on Thursday. So y'all have a great day, and remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. And thank you for I remember that one, because I could not remember that to save my life on Tuesday at the end. You have to for anybody who was here with me on Tuesday and I was struggling with that one, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration, and I will see you guys. If I don't see you before then, I'll see you on Tuesday. And of course, you know I'm gonna make some just regular videos between now and then anyway. So, peace! If I can hit the button. I'm talking all this trash and I can't even hit the goddamn on buttons.